This conference will now be recorded.
So welcome to day 7 of our EC payroll learning journey. We will be seeing what the critical steps in EC, what are the required steps in EC for our configure for this integration to work, EC and EC payroll integration. Prior to that, I will just do a recap whatever things we have seen yesterday. So yesterday we have seen the preparatory stages, what are the different preparatory steps for configuring this EC to EC payroll integrations. We have seen SFW5 where we have activated the different business functions. Then we have seen different service functions like activating different service function using transactional code SICF. So similarly for OData application, there are certain steps we have seen. Okay, then
Sorry.
yeah, please go ahead. Any questions do you have?
Today, there are like so many diagrams, right? The
Yeah.
yesterday. Are those important ones? Are they really important ones? Like they're gonna ask questions on those ones?
No. You will not be asked this question, any questions on this diagram. Only thing is you have to just this diagram will be helpful for you to just understand the topic, like how this data flow will happen, or what is the mechanism behind whatever the configurations we are doing. Okay, that's it. Nothing else. They will not be asking any questions from here because in this diagrams I have taken from various other sources, not from the implementation guide only. Okay, from various sources I have taken it. So you will not be getting, especially Bhumi related question, you will not be getting any question related to Bhumi. Okay. Only thing is whatever I have seen from my experience and from other students, what they have told, like you will be getting definitely one question from here, like the program name, not the transaction code name. Okay. For your employer application, this out of three, at least one question you will be getting. Okay, for employer application, for time of application, for time set application, what is the program we are going to use. Okay, so those things.
It's gonna
Yeah,
be like multiple choices, right? All the
multiple choice questions. Okay, so definitely we'll be getting anyway towards the end. I'll be sending those details for the possible questions and all. We'll be getting, and today we'll be starting with the training session for this integrations, for this integration to work, what are the things are required. Okay, so first of all we'll be talking about the implementation pathway. So in this pathway we'll be seeing the terminology which you are already familiar from employee central side, as well as you have already have experience on premise SAP HCM system. You already know what is an employee group, employee subgroup, personal action. So I do not have to explain all those stuff. Okay. So this table will be most important one, where exactly you will be coming across various the comparison between this terminology, like whatever you are calling it employee class, we call it employee group in employee in your on-premise system. Okay. Employment type is called your employee subgroup in your on-premise. Event is called your personal actions. Event reason is called personal your reason for personal actions. Okay, those are the different examples of the corresponding terminology. Okay, the frequency is known as a period parameter. So I will just recommend to go through this table, and so that it will be very useful not only from certification point of view but also from an understanding point of view. Because if you suppose, let's say your client is moving from on-premise to employee central and employee central payroll. Okay, so they have to take a decision whether they would like to go ahead with the current employee group or the current employee subgroup, or they would like to change something. Okay, so then you have to explain the respective field or entity name in success factor as well. Okay, so you have to just remember all this mapping, which is very easy. You will not be, because you are already familiar with employee central and on-premise, so it will not take much time. The most important one is the for payroll point of view, the pay group is known as payroll area. Pay components, whatever the pay we're calling it, pay components in EC, we used to call it in a waste type. Job location, we are having only one field for job location, but we have respective two fields in personal area and personal sub area. Both are called job locations only. Okay, so these are a couple of things which you have to remember from a payroll point of view. Okay, so this table is actually handy, and you have to remember this table. Okay, this diagram which I have already talked about yesterday at a high level, but when it comes to data point, okay, so like the data point like personal information, employment information, job information, these are actually your employee central specific data. Okay, So you can see whenever you are talking about the point-to-point connection or the point-to-point replications, your employee data will be moving from your employee central to your employee central payroll. Okay. So inside employee central payroll, what happens? So you have your payroll processing. Whenever I'm talking about payroll processing, it can be your where we mean to say mostly the production payroll run, simulation payroll run. Generally, we do not replicate. Okay. So the production payroll run, your legal reporting, whatever the country specific legal reporting, like for US and Canada, you have garnishment. Okay. So those specific reporting or year end reporting, okay, different communication to different authorities. That means different third parties are available in for every country, like your tax authorities, your garnishment authorities, court order. Okay. So all the specific communication to different authorities, it will happen from employee central payroll to those third parties. Salary payment, pay statement printing. Okay. So all this process will be happening inside your employee central payroll. Other than that, whatever, once your payroll has been processed, there is another reverse arrow you can see, which is known as confirmation basis payroll results. Okay, what does it mean? That means your payroll has been already successfully processed. Now it is time to check your pay slip. Okay, each and every employee, they can go to their employee central system, and from their people profile, they will be able to download their pay statement, or they can view their say if it is India, they can download their Form 16. If it is the US and Canada, they can start see their garnishment statement and all. So in this way, the one of this replication works, your integration works. Okay. So at one time you can send those employee data, and another time you can, once your payroll has been processed, your details, those confirmation messages, your results of your pay slip, it will come in the sit in the employee central. In this way, you can understand this replication. Okay. And the reverse way, the cost center part, what exactly happens? Once your payroll posting has been done, it will be moved to the finance, and similarly from finance, your cost center will be moving to your employee central, and from there it will also go to your employee central payroll. Okay, so in this way you can understand the replication between these different systems. This is just a diagram, and same diagram actually I have given it here also from a different perspective. Okay, so here actually I tried to, from an admin point of view, how this master data integration happens and how you can analyze. Okay, yesterday you have seen only one transaction, that is for SLG1, with the transaction which is used for your checking all of your application log. Okay, is there any error? Okay, is there any warning? Okay, during your payroll implementation. Okay, so that you can view using this application log, or there is another tool called data replication monitor. Data replication monitor tool is available inside your SuccessFactors instance, okay, which we will be seeing upcoming session. Okay, there are various tools, other various tools also available, which you can monitor easily whether your data has been replicated correctly or not, that you can see it. Okay, so this is just from my master data integration point of view. These are the different info types in employee central payroll, it will be replicated, and these are different portlets in your employee central, it will be getting updated. And for all of your integration to work, employee central is the key system. Okay, so for that reason, in this diagram we have mentioned employee central is the system of records. So all of your master data, your it will be the employee central will be the key master data or system of records for all of these integrations. Okay, so this one also we have discussed, like employee central, there are different portlet like your job information, the corresponding info type is 0001. Okay, similarly for personal information, corresponding info type is 2. Okay, so your planned working time, basic pay, this will be derived from your job information and compensation information, and there are corresponding field name, you don't have to remember anyway. So like if you are having some ABAPR, they may require some field to fetch in a report or fetch in a pay slip. Okay, then you may have to understand this field name as usual you used to do in the on-premise payroll. Okay, because your ABAPR will be taking care of those field name from the EC payroll, not from employee central. Okay, so they will be able to write programs for payslip, at least payslip or any custom reports. They will be referring this table name and field name. Okay, so that you have to explain. So this is just for beginning, or before we start of any integration, you have to understand this topic. So next one, the core part, the configuration part of your SuccessFactors Employee Central. What are the configuration you will be referring whenever you are doing the EC to ECP integration? Okay, So there are certain prerequisites, there are certain number of configuration to be done in EC side, which today will be focusing on. Okay, so when it comes to EC side, we do have your 6 prerequisites to check. Okay, so there are 6 prerequisites in your EC side, and there are 24 steps. 24 steps you have to follow to have a successful EC to ECP integration from EC point of view. Okay, so that we will be seeing today. So what are those prerequisites? So I'll be just explaining one by one. So first of all, you must have access to your updating the provisioning. Okay, suppose you are a payroll consultant, so provisioning access is not given to the client. Okay, so even if the client is, suppose they are certified, okay, even if they are certified, the client will not be getting access to the provisioning, that is as per the SAP norms. Okay, so only the partner consultant or the person from SAP, they will be able to update this provisioning settings. And as I was mentioning yesterday before, provisioning settings, you do not have much configuration, only you have to activate those 4 checkboxes like payroll control center, your cost center distribution, okay, enabling your point-to-point integration. Those 4 checkboxes you have to just tick it. Okay, so that access you must have. So before whenever you are doing implementation. Second one is your admin access. So what do you mean by admin access? So it is very similar to your admin access to your SAP EC admin. Okay. So even if you are having admin access to EC payroll, you should have an admin access. You must have a super admin access to the SAP SuccessFactors EC tenant. Okay. So you do not confuse regarding the tenant. Tenant is nothing but just an instance only. Okay. So whenever you are implementing EC payroll, you must have an access to your EC as well. EC as a super admin. Okay, so how do so just here I'll be asking you one question just for your knowledge check. So Navdeep, do you know how to create the super admin for the very first, whenever you are creating the getting
I
the
think
access to?
I think it was in the provisioning system, right? The first one you create.
Exactly. So that
Yeah.
is what actually I was looking for, because so whenever you are creating the whenever you are logging in the system, at that point of time you will not be having access to an admin ID. So we go to the provisioning system. Then there only there is an option called creating a super admin. So same is applicable here also. So even if you are already, if you have already implemented Employee Central, same super admin ID you can use it. Okay, so for this purpose as well, there is no difference between, because as a super admin you must have all the roles, all the roles you must have attached to your ID. Okay, so that you can configure anything and everything for your Employee Central EC or SuccessFactor ECP. Okay, so that is the second prerequisite. So the third prerequisite, configuration of a SuccessFactors Employee Central. So you must have configured Employee Central prior to your Employee Central payroll. So that is why, as I was mentioning on the, it is one of the prerequisite, okay, before implementing EC payroll. Okay, so you must have implemented EC. Okay, so here you must ask one question here. Suppose you are going for in a typical project, Employee Central and Employee Central go live is go on the same date. Let's say around September of 2020, you are going to live for both your EC and employee EC payroll. Okay, and you have started your project say in the month of April 2020. Okay, so how to go about it? Okay, so suppose if you are a project manager, how to decide these things, because you are having the same date from starting date and same date your go live date. So in this case, what we can do, so initial days of your you can start your kickoff meeting and everything, those formality you can start with your client, like the signing of the workbook and the requirement, you can take your requirement and all. So that you can start your demonstration, you can do that. But when it comes to your EC payroll implementation, as I was mentioning, EC is a prerequisite. So you can take a 1 month or 2 month of buffer in between. Let's say if you are implementing, you're starting in April, by month of say June, your EC must be ready. Okay, at least the basic of your EC, you may, whatever is required for your EC payroll, the basic one like your different employee actions or employee event or event region. So those configuration must be ready before we start your EC payroll implementation. Okay, so that is what I am explaining in the step number 3. Whenever I'm saying configuration of SAP EC, means at least whatever is required from an EC payroll implementation point of view, that must be configured. Okay, so that you have to coordinate with your EC consultant. Suppose you are two different persons, one is working as EC payroll, another working as EC consultant, then you have to coordinate with your EC consultant. At least the bare minimum configuration must be done. Okay, so that is from an employee central point of view. There can be another approach. Suppose if your client already have implemented employee central, that is up and running. Okay, and after say 1 year or 2 year, they are deciding they would like to move ahead with your employee central payroll. Okay, so in that case you do not have any problem. Okay, because already your employee central is already implemented, so you will not be facing any challenges there, because employee central is a prerequisite to EC payroll. So in those cases, do you not face any problem? There can be another scenario. The third scenario goes like this. Suppose your client has asked, they have already on-premise payroll, and they do not have EC in place. Okay, and they are planning to go for EC payroll cloud implementation. So straightforward, it is a no, because as you know, EC is a prerequisite to EC payroll, so you can't implement EC payroll first, then you go for EC. At least at present, it is not possible. Okay, so you have to tell your client, like, you have to implement EC first, then only you have to go for your EC payroll. Okay, the same thing now these days. Just an update for you. Just 15 days back, there is a new announcement by SAP for onboarding. Also, they are following the same approach, onboarding 2.0. Okay, so without Employee Central, you can't implement your onboarding. Even for certification also, they put a restriction, because there are many people who are certified in onboarding, but they do not have any knowledge on Employee Central. So at least the client may suffer, because the consultant, the onboarding consultant, is not having knowledge or enough knowledge from EC. So for that reason, people who are certifying after September 2020, the onboarding consultant also must have be certified in your Employee Central. So these kind of new changes are they are coming up with. So for EC payroll, at least they do not have this kind of certification requirement. You can independently certify in EC payroll as well as EC. But from an implementation point of view, you must have Employee Central must be implemented in before we go ahead for Employee Central payroll. That is my third prerequisite, which I have discussed. Fourth prerequisite is again, it is regarding your support package. Okay, so this one you do not have to worry about. You have to go and check with your SAP basis person or your client IT team. Okay, so you must have this service pack, your support package level minimum SP28. That's the bare minimum requirement. And to have all of your integration functionality to work, the minimum service pack, the support package level is SP73. But if you have procured your EC and EC payroll system recently, ideally this service pack taken care. Okay, still you have to check with your SAP basis person whether you are at the minimum support package level. Okay, so this is actually the fourth prerequisite which I was talking about. Fifth prerequisite. So fifth prerequisite actually it's not an essential one, but it is good to have. Like as I was mentioning, installation of SAP GUI. Okay, so as you know, like whatever the yesterday we have seen the web GUI, right, for EC payroll. Okay,
Yeah.
but sometimes what happens while working in SAP GUI, web GUI, it may take some time because it's a web GUI. You may find some little network connectivity, or it can be some other issues and in the web GUI. But it is better to have an SAP GUI. So if your SAP GUI is not installed, you check with your SAP counterpart. They will be helpful for you for installing those SAP GUI. Otherwise, you check with the client IT team. And for that, EC payroll configuration, you may require a VPN connection as well. Okay, so without VPN connection, you can't log into the SAP GUI, at least for EC payroll. Okay, for all other modules, you can log in, but for EC payroll, access via SAP GUI require a VPN connection. So for that, you have to check with your SAP counterpart. Okay, but it is even in my projects, which in the last project which I have worked, it is not very complex. So in that project, I have not used SAP GUI because the client was not ready to purchase the VPN, because it will take some time for them. So without SAP GUI also you can do it via, it will take some more time. Web GUI, you can go to Web GUI, there also you can do all of your configuration, like going to SPRO, creating those waste types, creating those actions. Still you can do it in a Web GUI, but it is good to have. So it is not a very much prerequisite, but it is good to have this SAP GUI. This is the fifth number of point number 5 of prerequisite. The last one is actually technical in nature. So this prerequisite in technical in nature, like there are some non-HR related SAP nodes are already installed. Okay, even if you are following, it is very close related to the topic, the prerequisite number 4. You have to check your minimum support package. At the same time, there is a SAP note, okay, which is an SAP note number. This one 2007916. This actually I have written it from my project experience. Okay, so there are some file transfer program. Okay, so like there is a file transfer program that must be active. Okay, so it will send those file between two the system, that is the EC and EC payroll system. Okay, so those configuration must be, those nodes must be installed in your SAP, your EC payroll system. Okay, this one you do not have to do anything, but only you have to talk to your SAP basis person or the SAP technical person or your SAP counterpart in your client side, client IT admin. They will be taking care of it. Okay, so you have to just mention the note number. You will send those note number to them. Okay, so it will provide this a sample report for sample coding. You may take help from ABAPer. Okay, so that there will be no problem in reporting of this file transfer between from one application server to the remote application server in your EC payroll. Okay, so for that reason you require this. So this is another prerequisite when it comes to the EC configuration from your this integration point of view. Okay, so any questions before I go ahead the actual steps of your in this prerequisites? This is very simple to understand, but you have to remember all the checklist whenever you're implementing this checklist. You have to check, because without this, if anything is missing, then you will be facing problems in your configuration or the integration. Okay, okay, there is, if there is no questions, then I will
What
move
is the
to
number 6? Can you go over number 6? Ensure the
okay,
required. I didn't pay attention. Simple.
okay. Okay, so what I can do, so I can show you just whenever I'll be showing the demo. Okay, I will just show you this
Okay.
note, how this note looks like. Okay, but you do not have to apply this note of your own, because you may not have an authorization to apply SAP note.
Node number, like those node number gonna continue to change, right? In the future.
So at present, whichever I am telling it, right, this note
Oh,
number may change in the future, but at present, at least for the next 6 months, it is not going to be changed. Okay, so for that reason, just I mentioned
okay.
this note number. Okay, otherwise
So
this note was,
those
yeah.
like those 6 step will apply even after like 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, so for that you have to check again, because this is very dynamic module. This EC and EC payroll, there are many changes, because whenever I was teaching in the last quarter, there were 4 prerequisites. Okay, so last 2 actually I have added in this current month only. These
Yeah,
two,
I guess the last 2 might be
hmm,
changing. Other 4s or looks like might.
yeah, it's very, so it is subject to change. So it's actually whenever I am teaching this subject, yet we are saying, so if someone asks like what will be in the future, that I know do not know, because I refer always the SAP roadmap. And SAP roadmap is generally they give it for 1 year. Okay, beyond 1 year they will just tell at high level, this may change, this may subject to change with a disclaimer. Okay, so we follow that SAP roadmap. So as per the current roadmap, this is actually the current prerequisites and the current configuration to be done for this kind of integration to work. Okay, so for that reason I always prefer to go back and check the what is new viewer, which we have discussed earlier. Okay, every 6 months, just you have to need to refresh. Okay, so even I provide this notes of getting updated. You do not worry, even if after the training, like even if the training is over, for the next quarter or the first for the next 6 months, around month of November, December, again I'll be revising these notes. Okay, and I'll be sending an update to you. Okay, so that you do not have to worry. Even for the last 1 year, people who have already completed the training, I keep on updating these nodes to them so that they will stay current. Okay, this they will stay current to their current project and current learning. Okay, so you do not worry about it. So I always keep updating this notes anyway, and I'll be sending those updated notes whenever I'm doing a major any kind of major changes. Okay, so I'll be sending that in subsequent quarter. Hmm. So do not worry about it. Okay, so shall I move to the next
Sure.
steps? Yeah. So here, whenever you are configuring this integration between EC and EC payroll from an EC side, there are 24 steps you have to follow. Okay, so some of the steps actually you might have already done in your EC. Okay, so I'll be having a quick overview of that. Then in the system, I will tell you some of the critical steps which are there. Okay, and we will go through that. And at the same time, I will also taking you through those all-in-one guide where exactly it is there in your all-in-one guide. Okay, what you have to read. Okay, so the first set of steps, the step number 1 to 4, it is all regarding your data model and your MDF information steps. Okay, so before I explain, I will just having a quick question for you. So from EC, you must be understanding what is the succession data model and what is a corporate data model. Can you just tell me, give an example, like what do you mean by a succession data model? What do you mean by a corporate data model?
I didn't use, I think I do remember, it's a
Yeah.
succession data model is, I forgot though, corporate data model, some of them were like a country, and
Okay.
other one was like,
Okay, no problem. So it is, I will explain because
more
if you have already background of EC, just I have asked. Otherwise, I generally explain this terminology. Let me check if I have a video for that. I think
I
I had a
used
video.
recently, so I don't remember it.
Okay, okay, no problem. So actually, I prepared one.
In the testing, when I took a
Okay,
test, I think there was a lot of question on those.
I understand, not a problem. So let me check if I had a video. Actually, I prepared a video for it.
Right?
Let me check if it is there. Otherwise, I will explain in detail. But from an EC payroll point of view, do not have much. Like I think I missed that video. No problem. Let me explain to you. Okay. So succession data model, as the name suggests, succession means one after another. Suppose one employee after another employee. Suppose one employee is replacing, but it is not exactly like that. So succession means it is all related to employee. Okay. So succession data model, it talks about all about your employee related data. Okay. And similarly, corporate data model is all about the organization. So there can be two types of data. One is your employee related data, and another is your organization related data. Okay. So all of your organization related data will be coming under your corporate data model, and all of your employee related data. Okay, employee related data, it can be his personal information, it can be his biographical information. Okay, all those related data will be coming under succession data model. And on the top of that, we do have something called MDF. Okay, so MDF is nothing but your metadata framework and all kind of custom objects. Suppose if you like to modify anything, if you want to create your own portlet, okay, if you like to have some custom logic on the top of the MDF, those portlets and all, those we maintain in the MDF objects. Okay, so here you do not have to configure from scratch. Rather, you will be finding a terminology called refine. For all of these 4 steps, you have starting with refining. So what do you mean by refining here? I will explain here. So like I'll be just going to the implementation guide and you will be easily understand what is the meaning of this refinement. Okay, what kind of refinement we do when it comes to the data model. Okay, so just let me go to that particular page. I will explain you where exactly it is coming from. Okay, okay. So now you can see in this particular implementation guide, the point-to-point replication guide. Okay, so you have there are certain steps for your implementations. So let me go back to the same page. Okay, so in this implementation guide, you will be finding what do you mean by this refinement. Okay, so when it comes to refinement, each and every portlets will be having its own length. Suppose I'm talking about employee name, it will be having some length in character, so it can be 36 or 64, okay, the length of that particular field. Okay, so similarly for EC payroll also, it will be having some in on-premise payroll. Also, you will be having certain steps, certain length. Okay, so this you can refer the page number 479. You just remember, and in this page number 479, the step, the article number or the section is 4.2. Section number 4.2. If you refer, there is a configuration they are mentioning. They are telling it success and data model refinement for your setting up the success and data model for the master data replication. Okay, so it is a, so here you will be finding the different HRIS element. Okay, so what are those different HRIS element for success and data model? You will be seeing like person info, personal info. So this kind of question also you can expect in your certification question. Like they may ask like place of birth or birth name. It belongs to which HRIS element of your success and data model. Okay, so place of birth and birth name, it will be a personal info. Okay, and when it comes to personal info, it's an
Similar
external.
question they asked on the EC certification as well.
Yes, 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 true, true. This is the common topic across EC and EC payroll. Okay, so for that reason, you will be asked these questions both in EC and EC payroll. Okay, and when it comes to EC payroll, they will be particular about. They have asked in the last question which I have seen, a working day per week. Okay, it will come under which HRIS element? It will be under job info. Okay, employment type, it will also job info. Okay, suppose first day to work, it is only for US. Okay, so that will be finding in employment info. Okay, these kind of questions are common here. Okay, so when it comes to success and management, you have to ensure these are actually required field. Required field means these are mandatory field. Okay, so if you during your implementation of your success factor EC, let's say you made it say a birth name as a optional, or you made it a no if it's not required, then when it comes to EC payroll implementation, so you have to refine it. Okay, so what is the refinement? As for EC payroll implementation, you have to ensure that birth name, nationality, your employment type, your working days per week, this configuration must be required, this must be mandatory. Okay, so you make those fields as a mandatory field. Okay, whenever you are during your this refinement of success and data model. So this is one of the key things you have to make sure understand. Another part, when it comes to the refinement of corporate data model. Okay, so there is certain recommendations by SAP. Okay, so for this corporate data model, as I was talking about, corporate data model, it deals with all of your organization specific data like your company location, cost center, pay group, pay component, frequency. So it has some maximum length. Okay, like company will be having maximum length of 20 character. Okay, similarly the cost center will be having maximum length of 20 character. But when it comes to the EC payroll implementation, there is a recommendations. Okay, you can't have all these specific lengths, you have to reduce it. Okay, so there is a recommendation from SAP EC payroll. They say your company length is must not be, it must be less than equal to 4. Cost center must be less than equal to 10. Okay, job classification must be less than equal to 2. So you have to modify this. Okay, so even if you are more implementing in your EC payroll. Okay, so whenever you are checking with this configuration, as for the SAP EC payroll recommendations, you have to refine this. Okay, whatever the foundation object you have configured in your EC, you have to modify it. Okay, and accordingly, suppose let's say you have already implemented and you're already, the length of your company name is too long. Okay, and you're not able to adjust, then you have to adjust it to name so that it will fit to your less than equal to 4. Okay, suppose if you have given a long name, say suppose if your name is say best travel Canada, and it is a lengthy name. Okay, so in the corporate data model, to fit into the corporate data model for EC payroll, it will not work. Okay, so you have to reduce it to 4 characters, say BTCA means, let's I'm just giving a hypothetical example, best travel Canada. Okay, so in this way you can reduce the length of the company name or the legal entity name. Okay, it will impact all where in your ECA as well. But whenever you are implementing EC payroll, you have to make sure this recommendation, this characters must be reduced. Okay, that is recommended by SAP. Okay, if you are implementing EC and EC payroll at the same time, you do not have to worry about it. You just talk to your EC consultant saying this is my EC payroll restriction. You can't have a length more than 4 character for company. You can't have a length of cost center more than 10 character. In this way, you can coordinate with each other, and you can before implementation as a prerequisite, you can talk to your EC consultant and the client. Okay, accordingly. But if you have already implemented, you have to refine it. Okay, what you have to do is some change management activities for EC payroll. Okay, so that is when I say refinement, this is the only explanation actually I can give, and you can refer this implementation guide. It is always you can find these recommended steps. Okay, what is recommended by SAP and what you should do. Okay, this is the thing, and same goes with your specific corporate country specific success and data model as well. Okay, so they will be asking some of the fields to be activated. Suppose if you have not activated during your implementation of employee central, you have to activate this field like the HRIS element job info, then the respective field like pay scale type area level group. Okay, so this data model, the success data model, you must activate all of these steps. Okay, so this is the only thing here we have from a refinement point of view, and same goes with your MDF as well. So whatever the MDF is required, okay, so that you have to activate for your countries. Okay, so that is the only thing here. Other than that, nothing much in this implementation. I have already highlighted what are the important point here. Okay, so next one is your, let me go back to the slides. So we have seen how to refine those success and data model, corporate data model, and same goes with your MDF as well. Whatever the client has configured, those MDF, you have to just refine it just to meet your EC payroll requirement. Okay. So point number 5 is defining a pick list. So what is a pick list? As you know, this is just nothing but your drop down values. Okay. Whatever the drop down values you are getting, suppose it can be a list of school name, list of your country name and all. There are many such standard pick list also available. You have to ensure if it is already configured in EC, you do not have to worry about it. Okay, so that you have to check there. The point number 6 is checking the pay scale setup. As I was mentioning in the, so you have to ensure if you have not activated your pay scale type, pay scale area, pay scale group and all, you have to activate in your EC so that it will be fitting in, it will be fulfill the requirement of your EC payroll. Okay, so these are the some steps you have to take care in EC. Suppose if you have already done it, it is well and good. If you have not done it, just to ensure the steps are taken care. Then the next step is your step number 7 and 8. It is related to your work schedule. Okay, so in your work schedule, suppose if you have not implemented your time management and you are going for the first time, okay, so you have to ensure your work schedule is configured in your employee central. It's okay, so like the specific work schedule for say it is a 5 days work schedule or it is a 6 days work schedule. Okay, what is the timing of that work schedule, whether it is a 8 hours working per day or it is 9 hours working per day. Okay, so those things you have to ensure those are configured in your employee central. If because so many times these are configured by time consultant, so if the time consultant is a different person than your EC consultant, then you have to talk to him and get it configured. So whatever the work schedule, is there any custom field required for the by the client in those work schedule? Okay, so those things you have to configure and you have to accordingly you have to enhance your data model. Okay, so this is regarding your work schedule steps. Okay, so this is step number 7 and 8, and there is the step number 9 to 15. This is all about your payroll information manual. Okay, so like a couple of them we have already seen it, like unified configuration, which I the step number 12, which I have already shown to you. Like the country, suppose if you are implementing EC payroll for Canada, then you have to implement, you have to activate only the Canada specific payroll unified configuration. So you do not have to configure other country, you do not have to activate all other country. Okay, similarly we have steps for your employee files, people profile. Okay, so people profile, how to configure people profile, that is a part of your employee central completely. Okay, so what are the different portlets you would like to highlight? Okay, portlets like your payroll information, the pay statement, where it will be appearing. Okay, so all those configuration you must do in your employee central side. Okay, Also, you have a specific configuration for the country specific configuration. Suppose if you're implementing for your Canada, okay, you have your garnishment. In US also they do have garnishment. Okay, so those configuration you must do. Okay, that is not part of your EC. Rather, you have to ensure those configuration are in place in on. Okay, that you have to see. Okay, so then setting of your payroll data in specific to a particular employee central self-service people profile block. Okay, so people, all of your payroll data will be fetching from your people profile, so that must be configured in, it must be in place. Okay, so you have to ensure those steps. So anyway, so all the steps we'll be seeing in the demo. Okay, you don't have to worry about it. So these are a couple of steps you have to ensure before we go for integration. It is a part of your integration rather. Okay, and once your configuration is done, the step number 16. So there is something called payroll implementation check. So are you aware of a check tool, Navdeep?
Payroll, no. What is that?
Okay, so in on-premise module, there is no check. Okay, suppose if you have completed your configuration, there is no check to ensure whether my configuration is correct or not. But luckily, we have something called payroll implementation check, or the check tool. We call it check tool, that is available in your success factor. At present, it is also available in your EC payroll as well, the on-premise side. There is something called check tool. If you execute that check tool, then the system will say this is my set of configuration which are correct, and these are the configuration missing. Okay, so suppose by any chance, if your any of the configuration is missing, system will tell that this configuration is missing. You have to ensure this configuration is correct. And this is not only for this check tool, is not only for your payroll, rather for all other modules like your employee central, RCM, onboarding, LMS. For all other modules also at present, this check tool has been extended. Okay, so you can, so that you can check as a consultant. This is a consulting tool. Okay, for consultant, before they go ahead for any configuration change, they will check this check tool, and they will execute this check tool, and they will ensure if any configuration is missing. Okay, then they will directly go back to that particular configuration, and they will modify, and they will again come back to this particular check tool to ensure there is no missing configuration at least. Okay, so that we will see in the demo. And step number 17 to 20, this is all regarding your RBP. Okay, so which we have already talked about in the first session, like in your admin side of session, like you must give permission. There are two types of permission. One is your admin permission, and another permission is your user permissions. Okay, so you must give this admin permission and the employee permission to the respective employees or the employee group. Okay, so once it is done, suppose the step number 18 is regarding your adapting HR role to the payroll admin or the payroll admin role. Okay, suppose if you're in your organization, if it is a small organization and the same person is taking care of your HR master data or say employee central data. Okay, so you may enhance his roles. You may have to upgrade his roles from HR role to the payroll admin, because the same, if the same person is taking care of your EC payroll operation, like as a role I was talking about, the payroll process manager. Okay, so you can upgrade, you can adapt his HR role to the payroll admin role. Okay, so you have to enhance the RB for him. Okay, the third point is giving standard user access to the payroll information page. Okay, so there are some RBP access for your payroll information page as well. Okay, so you have to ensure that row, that access is given to those respective employees or respective admin. Okay, so that permission must be given. So this is all regarding your RBP. Okay, so the step number 17 to 20 is all regarding your RBP. You have to ensure each and every RBP, whatever depending upon your client requirement and the SAP recommendations, you have to ensure those RBPs are set up and the proper permissions are given to the each and every role. Okay, so that is regarding your step number 17 to 20. So the last four steps is related technical in nature, which I'll be talking about. Steps number 21, it is not very technical, you already know it, how to set up the earliest retro check. Okay, so we can suppose set up the earliest retro check in our payroll control record. Suppose if you're going live on the from the month of say as I mentioned September 2020, and you would like to have some backdated data as well. So if you would like to have a parallel run and all, and you would like to have the retro the maximum retro it will go to say 1st of January 2020. Okay, so that means before that any master data you are changing, that will not going to impact your payroll. Suppose let's say you are changing any master data of an employee, say with effective from October 2019. Okay, so in those cases it will not change the payroll. Okay, it will not impact your payroll, rather because of the earliest retro you have checked, say 1st of January 2020. Okay, so we have a provision for setting up those retro dates in the system that we'll be seeing. It is same as your on-premise, the way we have done in the payroll control record. We have to go to set up the earliest retro. Same process we have to follow here as well. Okay, so this is from a system control point of view. Okay, and the step number 22 and 23, these are technical in nature. Okay, like how to set up those API, because for API is nothing but your application programming interface. Okay, so we have to ensure your this step number 22 and 23 are done ideally by an integration consultant, payroll integration consultant, but I will explain you how it is done, because I have done mostly in my projects. If any troubleshooting, then only I ask to my integration consultant, but myself only I have done it myself, how to set up those API, how to give those permissions, API user and permissions, assigning permissions, that I'll explain to you. Okay, so step number 22, 23, this is little technical, but it's not very difficult. There's no involvement, there's no coding. So as a functional consultant also, you can take this activity. Okay, you can take it off your own. Otherwise, you can take it you can delegate it to your integration consultant. You can get it done by them. Okay. The last step, that is your creating a payroll events in EC. Okay. So what is the meaning of it? Why payroll events are required in EC? Suppose if you are doing say there is an employee event called or say promotion. Okay, so usually mostly in case of a promotion, it is not only the job designation changes, at the same time your salary is also increased. That means your particular wage type or particular pay component in your EC also it will be changing. Suppose your basic has been increased, your allowance has been increased. Okay, so for that reason we create a events specific to payroll event. Okay, in your employee central, like say it can be your transfer, it can be your promotion. Okay, so suppose if you have not created, you have to create, ensure it is created in your employee central, and your employee central events are also part of your EC. Okay, so those are called your different payroll events. Okay, so these are the different 24 steps which I have explained you in a very comprehensive manner. Okay, so you have to follow. Suppose some of the steps if you have already done it in your EC, then it is well and good. But to make sure, this is a kind of checklist for you. Okay, whenever you're implementing your EC to EC payroll integration, so from EC side, you have to ensure this 6 prerequisites are met, and at the same time, these 24 steps you have to make sure this is followed. Okay, so these are different 24 steps you have to follow whenever you are dealing with your EC implementation. Okay, on the top of that, now I'll be coming back to this is already, you already know it. Okay, so like configuring payroll unified configuration, which I was talking about. So when it comes to the payroll unified configuration, it ensures like your country specific configuration, as well as there is a, suppose if you have created any custom info type. Okay, let's say it may be possible many of the customer which who suppose that they're for the last 10-20 years they are using the on-premise payroll. It is obvious that they must have created any kind of custom info types. Okay, so whenever you are moving to EC payroll, you have to ensure, is that custom info type really required, or is there any other info types which, or is there any other component, is that, yeah, any question here?
Are you going to show me those like 24 steps in the
Yes, yes.
system?
Yes. I will, do not worry about it. All these, not all the 24 steps, which are the major steps. Like pick list, I will just tell you. Okay. Okay, all the steps, do not worry. Today actually is a cleaning session, so today only I'll be just explaining the theoretical aspect of it.
It's okay. I just
Sorry?
wanted to know, like, that's okay. You can show me tomorrow, like, you can continue.
Yeah. Today only I'll be focusing on the conceptual part of it. Tomorrow at one go, I'll be explaining you both the things. Okay, so for that reason, today actually I have not kept any lab session. Okay, today I'll be explaining both EC and EC payroll, what are the things we'll be doing. And tomorrow So day 8 actually I have planned for a lab session. Okay, so that is already dedicated for lab session. So today I will not be talking about this theoretical aspect. Rather, I will be directly going to the system, and all these 24 steps I will show you in the EC side. And the day after, if it is not completed tomorrow, and the day 9, I have kept another lab session for your EC payroll side. Okay, from EC payroll side, all the 17 steps whatever I will explain today. Okay, that will be going step by step. But it may happen the step day number 9, it will be much easier for you because you have already worked on premise. Okay, so I will not have to explain how to configure a waste type, how to configure and your actions and action reason. Okay, so that will be a little easier for you. It may happen in the tomorrow itself, if time permits. Then I will cover both the topics. Okay, let's see how it goes. But today I'll be focusing more on the concept part. Okay, and I'll be explaining tomorrow how to go about it in the step by step. All the I'll be showing in a real time system. Okay, so you do not have to worry about it. Okay, any other questions before we go ahead?
No,
Okay,
continue.
so it is straightforward. The payroll unified configuration, which you have already seen, like there are different country specific configuration, any custom info type which I was talking about. If it is really required, then you can go for. But there is an option to add your custom info type as well in your payroll unified configuration, that you can do it. Okay, but you have to ensure you are not duplicating your effort. Okay, so many times I have seen the client SAP has already provided the same thing in a different standard info type. If the client is asking for something extra, and but it has the same purpose, so you may not require to bring that custom info type in your success factor, because as you know, these are all cloud offering. Your employee central payroll, these are actually the cloud offering, and we recommend not to go for too much of customization. Whatever the standardization is there, so you have to follow that, and you have to follow the SAP best practices. Okay, so this is a recommended approach by SAP as well. If you do a lot of customization, again it will be facing, you will be as a customer facing a problem whenever there is an upgrade. Okay, so you have to again test everything, each and everything, the impact of those custom build. Okay, so that is the thing here. So when it comes to the payroll unified configuration, there is a separate requirement for this as well. So you have to ensure the support pack 47 must be applied in the EC payroll system to have this functionality to work. Okay, but if you have already upgraded your system to latest -1 level, so you have to ensure this functionalities will be already be working in your system, so you do not have to worry about it. Okay, so this is regarding your 6 prerequisites and 24 steps which I have explained to you. Then I will moving to the next configuration steps, which are part of an EC payroll. So till now we have covered 6 prerequisites and 24 steps in EC side. Now we'll be coming to the other part of your world, that is EC payroll. Okay, so there are certain configuration you have to ensure must be they're done in your EC payroll. Okay, so to make sure that there are certain prerequisites in your EC payroll side as well. Okay, so in EC payroll system, as you know, this is a different system. Okay, EC payroll is in the EHP level 7 or EHP level 8, that package. And so you have to make sure these 9 prerequisites are met. So what are those 9 prerequisites? The first one is the common to both of your EC as well as EC payroll. That is a minimum support pack SP28. That is your minimum package level. You have to check with your base system. If it is not there, you have to upgrade. Second one is you must have installed the integration add-on. Okay, so there is something called integration add-on in your.
Hold on one second. So the
Sorry.
other 24 steps were doing the integration between EC to EC payroll as well, the one we just gone through, the 20 steps. And what is the difference between the one now you are doing it?
Okay. So I will just explain you. So whatever the 24 steps I have explained you, these are done in EC side. There are two sides of integration, right? One side is your EC, another side is your employee central payroll. Okay, so what are the configurations we have done in your EC side, that I have explained to you. Because if you like to configure a pick list, that you have to configure in your EC, not in an EC payroll. You have to change it. Okay, suppose if you have to change anything in your data model, there is no data model in your on-premise, right? So only thing is this configuration you have to do in your EC side. Okay, so for that reason I have clearly called out here. The diagram also says like configuration SAP SuccessFactors Employee Central. So there are 6 prerequisites and 24 steps you have to follow in your EC side, that is an Employee Central side. and there is another set of configuration, that is your employee central payroll side. Okay, so now we'll be moving to the other part of the world, that is employee central payroll. Okay, so in this employee central payroll again, that is your on-premise system. Okay, so here you have to make sure this 9 prerequisite and the 17 steps are required. Okay, so what are those steps? As I was mentioned, the minimum support pack, it remains the same. SP28 is required, and we have to install the integration add-on. Okay, there is some integration node for that. Okay, so you have to install, or your SAP basis team, they will be helping you in this integration add-on. Okay, so that you have to ensure that is done. And there is some SAP SF EC payroll basic configuration. Okay, so there are certain basic configuration like your those initial set of configuration must be there. Okay, like EC payroll, you must have your payroll information page, you must have your payroll component. Okay, all those must be configured. Okay, in your EC payroll. Similarly, the admin access, when I say admin access, that is your RBP. You must have an RBP access to execute all of your whether you are a payroll process manager, or whether you are a payroll administrator, you must have those admin access to the EC payroll. Okay, that is the fourth prerequisite. Similarly, you must have configured your PA module, like your personal area, person sub area, employee group, employee subgroup. Okay, so which you are already familiar about it because you have already worked on premise. So those PA configuration must be there. Okay, so you whatever, if it is not configured, you have to configure by following your employee central. Let's say your employee central is already implemented, it is up and running, so you have to ensure whatever the configuration has been done in your employee central, you have to do a mapping of those in the PA module, in your EC payroll module. You have to ensure those are maintained in your this step number 5. Okay, so once it is done, the sixth prerequisite is regarding your some more basic setting, like there is something called number ranges, which you are already familiar about it. Okay, so those number ranges must be defaulted. Those that there is something called data sharing configuration, so you have to ensure the data sharing configuration between EC and EC payroll is established. Okay, so that is done. And there are number ranges for your personal number as well. Suppose you are having a different number range for your blue collar job, and there is a different number range for your white collar jobs. Okay, so those employees, then you have to set up accordingly in your on-premise payroll. Okay, or EC payroll, you have to ensure that is correct. Okay, and suppose if you are having a concurrent employment, so this is a rare scenario, but if your client is using concurrent employment, means the same employee will be working in two different jobs. Okay, at the same time. Okay, so it may happen 60% in particular job, 40% in another particular job, the weightage of the time sharing. Okay, so you have must, if you are using concurrent employment, you have to ensure that concurrent employment is activated, but that is an optional thing. Okay, so depending upon your client, you have to use it. The prerequisite number 7 is you have to ensure your payroll area is configured, your control record must be in place. Okay, at the same time, your administrator also, all these org related data must be configured. Okay, like your position, job information, all these things are in your on-premise side, EC payroll side. Okay, so next prerequisite is your, you must have your wage types configured for those basic pay, recurring payment, which is we are maintaining in info type 14 or 15, or one-time payment in the info type 15. Okay, so you must have those payment deduction wage types must be configured. Okay, so those are the different pay components, and your pay scale structure, whatever the pay scale structure you're defining in your EC, that must match with your EC payroll. Okay, so you have to ensure those configurations are there in place. Okay, and same goes with your evaluation basis. So there are different evaluation basis for a different wage types. Okay, so there will be different types of monitoring of the task monitoring. Okay, there are date specification, that is info type 41. Okay, so all this configuration must be, whatever you used to do in your on-premise payroll, that must be in place. So these are the different 9 prerequisites, and you have to follow, and we will be seeing anyway in the upcoming session. But at present, over the time being, you have to remember these are different, and this is a kind of checklist. Before we do during your part of as a part of your integration, you have to ensure in your EC payroll this configuration must be this already done. Okay, these are different 9 prerequisites from your EC payroll side. And when it comes to the actual configuration in your what are the different 17 steps now I'll be talking about. The first step is configuring the SAP info type actions. Okay, so without actions you can't hire an employee in your these things in your EC payroll. Okay, anyway, these actions you do not have to hire an employee in EC payroll. Rather, once you hire an employee in your EC, automatically it will be replicated. Okay, but that replication to work, okay, you have to configure this SAP info type actions. Okay, it can be your hiring event, it can be your hiring actions, or it can be your transfer actions, promotion actions, or any salary change actions. Whatever the actions you have configured, event you have configured in your EC, that you have to configure in your info type actions in your EC payroll. Okay, so that is the first step you have to follow whenever you are talking about this integration. The second set of configuration, step number 2 to step number 4, it is regarding your mapping. Okay, suppose if you have already configured your company code, location, or there are different values for your employee central, you must have configured this the corresponding company code locations in your EC payroll as well. Then you have to do a mapping. Otherwise, how system will understand which company code refers to which legal entity in your on-premise system or EC payroll system, which location will refer to your which personal area and personal sub area in your EC payroll system. So to make sure that works, you have to ensure this mapping is done. The key mapping between your location, company code, or other values must be placed. Okay, that is your step number 2 to step number 4. And similarly goes same goes with your time module, your work schedule. Okay, suppose if you have created a work schedule and your default work schedule is 5 days, 5 days of working with 8 hours per day, total 40 hours in a week. Okay, suppose that is your default work schedule. You have to ensure you have done that mapping of the work schedule between your EC to EC payroll. Okay, that is your step number 5. And you have to define a date type as well, like in the date monitoring you may require which is a hiring date, which is a promotion date. Okay, all those event date type you have to maintain. Okay, so anyway, that we'll be seeing in the upcoming session. Okay, so the step number 7 is critical. So this is as usual we used to do in your on-premise. You have to ensure all of your waste type has been configured. Okay, so whatever the, suppose if you are a new customer of SAP, then you have to configure everything from scratch. Okay, and suppose if you have already implemented your client is already a customer of SAP, they are using on-premise payrolls for say long 5 to 10 years. Okay, and then you have to ensure these waste types, whatever you have configured, is there any changes required the current to meet the current requirement, or the pay component, whatever you have configured in your EC, just you have to see, you have to ensure those waste type, whatever the waste type has been configured. Okay, so the characteristics of waste type you may have to revisit. Okay, so those kind of refinement you can do. Otherwise, you have to assign those waste types. So certain waste types are permissible under your info type 8, certain waste types are permissible under info type 8 or 14 or 15 or 267. That permissibility you have to check whether it is properly done or not. Okay, and you have to assign those non-recurring waste types. There are certain waste types which may be non-recurring, it is just a one time or something like that. Okay, you have to ensure those are specified under a particular info type. So these are very basic things which you already done in your on-premise days. Okay, so you will be finding much easier this section at least. Okay, so people who are coming from directly from success factor background, they do not have a background of your on-premise. Okay, so I have to explain a lot of to them, rather I take a different session for them. But for you it will be, I believe it will be much easier for you to understand how to configure these waste types and processing and all. Rather it will be recap.
Okay, these steps are given by the success factors, or did you come up with those steps? I'm just wondering.
Actually, it is a mix up of both. Okay, if you follow the implementation guide, they've also explained these things. But from my experience, I have added some more steps, and wherever it is not required, I have removed some of the steps as well. Okay, it's because sometimes it is repetitive. Okay, so I will also explain once I go through tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Once I cover this practical demo of it, then I will explain. I will have a walkthrough of the implementation guide. They also explain the same steps but in a different sequence. Okay, it may happen the step number 7 which I explained, they may be in the latter one, they will be explaining, but I followed the steps which are exactly coming from an implementation experience. Okay, from an implementation point of view, what are the steps I followed, okay, that I tried to capture here in this presentation. Okay, so you can follow the same steps whatever I have explained to here indirectly in the project, so that you will not miss anything. Okay, so for that reason I'm very particular about the number. Okay, so I'm focusing on the number, like 24 steps means you have to follow this all of these 24 steps. If it is 17 steps means you have to follow each and every 17 steps. Even if you have already configured it, it will be helpful as a checklist. Okay, so that you will not be missing anything in your configuration at least, and you will not be end up with some issues in your production. Okay, so you have to make sure everything is in place. I'm a little bit more process oriented, so for that reason I mentioned all these steps. Even whenever I'm explaining to the client end user or the super administrator, I explain them you have to follow. Suppose in the future there is any changes required, then you have to follow this and this many steps. Again, you have to revisit. Okay, is there any impact on your payroll? Because payroll is one of the critical module in any client. Okay, so for that reason I maintain these steps. You have to ensure these steps are maintained and these steps are followed strictly. Okay, any other question before we go ahead?
Um, simple time to revolution. No.
Okay, so I'll not take much time here. Another some of the steps which are already I've explained you, like replication of employee key mapping table. This is an optional field. Suppose if you are not implementing or you are not doing finance integration, then it is optional. Suppose if you are doing finance integration, FICO model integration, okay, and most of the cases it is there. Okay, so you have to ensure this. There is something called employee key mapping. Okay, so that table, that replication must be configured. Okay, that will be seen in the demo. You'll be able to understand that. Then step number 9 to 12, it is all regarding your time sheet and time type. Okay, when I say time type, so you must have all of your configured your time type, okay, like your attendance type or absence type. Okay, so you must have configured, otherwise your time type replication will not work. Okay, and same goes with your time type mapping. So you must have some kind of mapping in your on-premise, and you must have configured those mapping in your EC time off module. Okay, that mapping, how to maintain those mapping code value, we'll be seeing in the demo. Okay, and same goes with your time sheet as well. Okay, so the time sheet, what are the different time sheet components? Okay, so that we'll be seeing in the whenever. But in those cases, step number 9 to 12, okay, 70 to 80% of the configuration will be done by your time consultant. Okay, only thing is, as a payroll consultant, you have to ensure those mapping is done and those replication is working. Okay, that is the only thing you have to do. But from a time consultant point of view, they have to do a lot of activities. If you are the only person who is taking care of your time module as well as the payroll module, then you have to configure it. Suppose if it's a different person, then you have to ensure these are already configured by him, the different time type and time related replication configuration. Okay, so that we will be seeing what are the things your time consultant will do, and what are the, as a payroll consultant, what you have to do. Okay, that will be explaining in the whenever I will showing the demo, the step number 9 to 12. Okay, I'll just tell you. And the last few steps, in the step number 13 to 17, it is again regarding technical configuration, for which you have to take help from your integration consultant or SB basis consultant. Otherwise, also you can also do it. You can, even as I was mentioning, I myself only I did it my previous, all of my previous implementation. So creating a technical user. When I say technical user, suppose you've already created a super admin in your EC or EC payroll. Okay, so you have to ensure in your EC payroll side, that is your on-premise side, also by going to SU01, you have to ensure you have to created a technical user in the on-premise side who will be responsible for doing all the configuration in your EC side. Primarily during your initial implementation of your project, the consultant will be having this technical user. Then later on, once your project is live, okay, so you can give this access to the super admin of your client or the client IT administrator or the payroll administrator who will be taking care of the payroll implementation or the payroll support. Okay, you can give access to the this technical user. But this technical user is not meant for your end user. When I say end user, that is a payroll process manager or payroll analyst. You should not give that access to them, because this is more they can do the, if you are giving access, they can do some mistakes. Okay, so this technical user is meant for people who are doing the configuration on your on-premise side, okay, or EC payroll side, like configuring a waste type, okay, like any kind of minor configuration change in your EC payroll side. Okay, those users will be given access, only this technical user access. Okay, the step number 14, it is regarding your EC payroll, EC the web service communication, because this is a web-based on-demand payroll. Okay, there are certain web services to be set up. That is called, there is something called transaction called SWA manager. Okay, that we'll be seeing in the demo. Okay, and there are certain EC API. There are some application programming interface to ping EC API. Means your EC payroll will be talking to the EC. That we'll be seeing also. And there are some connections to be also made. The step number 14 is purely technical configuration. You can, if you are facing any challenges, then you can directly contact your payroll, your integration consultant. They will be doing for you. Okay. So that anyway, I'll be explaining you anyway how to do it. Same goes with your data sharing configuration. So which data to be shared with your EC from EC payroll, which data should be shared, not to be shared, that also we can configure in the setting of the data sharing configuration. And the step number 16 is regarding your EC API. So there are application programming interface after configuration, how to configure those query, what are the queries to be configured, that also we'll be seeing in the step number 16. Okay. And the last step, last but not the least, the pay component, the base type configuration. So there is a check tool now we have in our on-premise system or in your EC payroll system, which you can check whether my part of the waste type I have configured, part of the pay component I have configured in a EC, whether that is there any discrepancies or not. Okay, so that also you can check it in your on-premise. And this is a, we call it a check tool in your on-premise or EC payroll side. We'll be seeing that as well. So is there any, suppose during your testing, this will be helpful in your testing as well. Suppose if you're facing any problem or any issue, any payroll component related topic, okay, or any waste type related configuration, then you, instead of going each and every node in the SPRO, checking their characteristics of the waste type, instead of that, directly you can come to this step number 17. You can share the report for that using that particular node. You can directly see the entire configuration, the holistic configuration you can see for your all of your pay component and the respective waste type. Okay, so in this way you can, these are different 17 steps you have to follow when it comes to EC payroll, EC to EC payroll integration point of view. So that is all for today. Today is more theoretical nature. Just you have to ensure, you have to remember these. So from a certification point of view, what questions they may ask, like they will be giving certain steps. They will be giving, say randomly, they will be giving 5 or 6 steps. They will be asking to you like which are the steps you follow in your EC part of EC integration, when EC to EC payroll integration from EC side. Which are the steps you have to follow in EC to EC payroll integration from EC payroll side. Okay, some of the steps there are common in nature, but some of the steps are very unique. Some of the steps are very unique to your EC, and some of the steps are very unique to your EC payroll. Okay, so it is good to remember all the sequence of the steps. Okay, it's not very difficult because for that reason actually I've categorized. Okay, so if you remember, like the step number 2 to step number 4, I have categorized like mapping of org, trom, and codes. This is the way I remember generally. Okay. Similarly, all of your time related steps, I kept it in a one under one bundle, like your step number 9 to step number 12 under one bundle, saying set up your time data integration. Okay. So in this way you can remember. Okay, but ideally they ask this kind of questions because this is one of the critical module, critical topic in your EC payroll integration. Okay. So generally they ask similar kind of question, like they will just giving random steps like replication of employee key mapping, configuration of a waste type processing. Then they will be asking which are the what are the possible steps you have to follow, which are the 3 or 4 steps. They will not be asking all 17 steps. Rather, they will be asking which are there in your EC, which are there in your EC payroll. Okay, so those kind of questions you can expect in your certification. Okay, but when it comes to the implementation, I will be showing you tomorrow. We'll be starting with the demo. On the day 8 will be purely day 8 and day 9. It will be purely lab session. I'll whatever the steps and the prerequisites I have explained to you today. Okay, that I'll be covering in the next 1 day or 2 day. So all these steps I'll be showing in the most of the steps which are important for you. That is from the lab point of view or implementation point of view. I'll explain you in the demo. And some of the steps actually you already know it, like the on-premise payroll. Okay, so I'll be explaining you directly in the screenshot as well as in the EC payroll demo system, because like how to configure those. Some of the steps I will be little fast because you already know it how to configure info dev actions. I will not be very deep dive. Okay, so I'll just quickly go over it and how I'll just show you the system and where exactly you configure those steps. Okay, so this is all for today's session. Any questions before we wind up?
No, thank you.
Okay, okay, welcome. Then see you tomorrow. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow it will be completely practical session. Okay, so I'll be showing you the system directly for other things and we'll proceed further. Okay, okay.
Okay,
Bye.
sounds good.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Bye.